David with capital typing, can you confirm you hear us from Zoom? Bob White, can you confirm you can hear us? He's not on.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're all glad you're here. I call to order this June 18th, 2024 hybrid administrative special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. Commissioner Benson may be appearing on Zoom. He is not on yet. We will have a silent invocation and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which I shall lead. Please join me in silence. Thank you. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have one item for approval, the county manager search. And I'd like to start this discussion with a comment, a statement. With the imminent retirement of our county manager, Julie Morgus-Baca, as chair, I reached out to the full commission in an attempt to develop a search and hiring process through collaboration and cooperation and consensus. It is within the rules of the commission that the chair can appoint an ad hoc committee for any purpose, and this was my intention, to conduct a national search, to identify a local hiring committee of qualified volunteers, and to engage the community in that process. Accordingly, I sent out an email to all of my colleagues on the commission and asked for input on two subjects. First, what experiences, skills, and abilities do we want in our next county manager? Second, what type of search process do we want to pursue in hiring our top administrator? Following that communication, I spoke to each commissioner, and all members of the commission responded by emails, texts, or phone calls about their desires or concerns on how the process should move forward. We have learned in these past few months that a reply all on an email can be considered a rolling quorum. The county at that time did not have a method to protect against a reply all response. This has been corrected. In considering the makeup of the search committee, there were communications between commissioners suggesting possible members and the willingness of volunteers to serve on the search committee, including communications as follows. Communication with Commissioner Olivas about contacting Tim Cummins on March 24th. Communications with Commissioner Barboa about how to get a hold of Venice Ceballos on March 24th. And communications setting up a call with Commissioner Quesada on March 14th and 15th, and Commissioner Benson on March 27th. We appreciate and recognize the finding of NMDOJ, formerly the New Mexico Office of the Attorney General, that these communications constitute a rolling quorum in violation of the Open Meetings Act. We further appreciate that NMDOJ has guided us on the appropriate remedy and has conferred with us on the cure, which is to hold this public meeting and ratify the April 9th action and all subsequent actions on AR 24-43. In acknowledgement of the finding of this investigation, I want to apologize to the community, to the Bernalillo County staff, to the hardworking search committee of volunteers who did an excellent job, and to the superb group of applicants for the position of our next county manager. I apologize for any concern or uncertainty that this may have caused. We thank the NMDOJ for its assistance in moving us forward, especially Mr. Billy Jimenez. In accordance with the NMDOJ guidance, I now make the following motion. I move that the commission fully ratifies post hoc the entire county manager selection process resolution, first adopted on April 9th, 2024, AR 24-43, including all subsequent actions taken pursuant to the resolution, including actions of the search committee and the Board of County Commissioners as reflected in agendas and minutes of each from that date until the completion of this process. I request that the correspondence with the NMDOJ and minutes and agendas of the BCC and the search committee be made part of this meeting's record. That is my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I will ask, if it's the pleasure of the commission, we'll open it up for discussion, and then we will hear from the public, and if there's anybody who wants to make public comment prior to a vote on this motion.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Quesada.
Yeah, AR 2024-43. I was wondering if I could bring up Rocky Candelaria up here so I could ask him a few questions on whether this resolution is valid based on our code of conduct and our procedures.
I guess I will allow that. I don't know the expertise that the individual has on our resolution as adopted.
I mean, not Rocky Candelaria. That's the guy I danced with in a show 15 years ago. Rocky Gutierrez, I think. Yeah, Rocky Gutierrez. He's our compliance officer.
If you have a question for him, I'll allow it. Oh, I've been notified that Commissioner Benson has joined us on Zoom. Thank you, Julianne. Mr. Gutierrez.
Sorry, Rocky. Sorry, Mr.
No.
Gutierrez.
worries,
So
thank you, sir.
I just want to repeat the question. As you know, I did get a phone call from Madam Chair, but that was just only asked for me to defer my item. It wasn't really to be involved in the process, but they were asking me to defer my resolution, which was basically asking for a national search for the next county manager position. But based on how they put that committee together, does that fall under the rules of our ordinances?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Quesada, I believe, with the findings of the DOJ, what is happening today would cure that particular section of the statute. But we do have some questions of the ordinance on the development of a board for a committee, on how committees should be developed. I'm specifically referring to Code of Ordinances, Article 6. And in there, it talks about the formation of boards and how the boards, and when we refer to boards, it's a term for committees, commissions, anything established by this board. There is a process where the resolution itself should address whether each commissioner should be able to appoint members specific district, by a specific district, or at large. I don't recall if I saw that in this this resolution. And I think that should be addressed. And the way it's worded, because it references each individual commissioner have a selection to this committee. That's been a question that I've had, for this amount of time. That's why I wrote my initial letter. I was hoping that, we could open up conversation as far as that, 2 months ago, and hopefully have that question resolved and maybe come to some type of consensus. Sir, there still is a question whether, and it depends on the resolution itself, but the way I read the ordinance, it is each commissioner would have a selection to a particular committee, and whether it's district-specific or at-large, each commissioner still gets a pick. I'm not going to answer the question whether this resolution is in compliance or not. I think that's a question for someone else to ask, maybe our review board, but that's my interpretation of the ordinance itself. I hope that answers your question.
It kind of does, because I'm having real difficulty supporting this resolution based on those questions. As everybody knows, I felt that everybody should have had an appointment to the committee, for the search committee for it to be equitable, and to feel that the person that was elected to that office be able to appoint somebody that they felt would represent the interest of that district. That did not happen. I called for that. That did not happen. And then when I read your letter and saw that there was specifics on when we do appoint and how we appoint. So I guess my question would be now to our legal, is whether if this is legitimate based on your own opinion. I mean, you are a lawyer yourself, am I?
No, sir, I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
But I have 30 years' experience in policy.
Okay.
And interpretation of policy.
Okay.
Ordinances and the law.
Okay.
So, I have a lot of experience in interpreting the law and policy, and I believe that is my interpretation of this particular ordinance.
Thank you. I have a question for our county attorney, which I'd like to hear an answer. Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner. Thank you for the question. The sole issue before us now is the Open Meetings Act issue. We have cooperated since the beginning with the Department of Justice on this issue and conferred with them. The purpose of the process today is to cure, and that is a process that's laid out both in case law and in statute. The statute is Article 15, Open Meetings, Section 10-15-3. And what we're doing today, Commissioner, is going to the way that you would cure an open meetings violation in order to move forward. And this was also included in the Department of Justice correspondence, including the last letter that they sent. And I think every member of the commission has that now. And it says, and I'll read the statute, a public meeting held to address a claim violation of the Open Meetings Act shall include a summary of comments made at the meeting at which the claim violation occurred. So this is that cure as recommended by the Department of Justice. A separate inquiry, I imagine, can be made within our code of conduct, but that would not have the effect of doing what we are today, which is to cure this so we can move forward with the process.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you is, if it's not within our rules to move something forward that doesn't fall within our ordinances, what happens to this resolution if a commissioner files something to contest the whole resolution as being valid? That's the question I'm asking, because we are going to be voting on passing this resolution as part of the DOJ's requirements.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. That's a good question. The question presented to the Code of Conduct Board would go through Mr. Gutierrez, and you requested him to look at that. I know there is some correspondence on that, and there's also a review of how that would proceed based upon how you would gather the information with that regard. I think that the purpose of the Code of Conduct, as Mr. Gutierrez stated, would to give probably more better stated advice on how to move forward. In other words, how do you move forward on creating a search committee pursuant to the rules? Because there's several different rules about how you're doing that, like having a resume, a bio, you would, and argue in part that you would create a search committee early, so that it can be published early, so that there can be this background check on it. I do look forward to understanding that if the Code of Conduct Board would like to look at that, that would be very good and informative. I don't think the Code of Conduct Board would or could hold invalid this process. I mean, that's not their purpose.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to point out, to clarify for Commissioner Quesada, this will be the fourth time that we're considering this resolution. So it's been heavily and thoroughly debated, yourself being part of that every time. Also would like to point out that to the point that's been raised about members being appointed by each commissioner, at a previous commission meeting, amendments were taken by the chair. Yourself and Commissioner Benson participated in that process. You passed the amendments, and then you voted against the underlying bill that added your members. So to be very clear, the chair offered that grace, and it was rebuffed by yourself and Commissioner Benson. Lastly, on the issue of appointments to committees and boards, as Madam Chair stated in her statement, ad hoc committees are allowed to be appointed by the chair. The chair is elected by this board, and this board votes on and debates policy and legislation, including that. But I would point out, for example, this commission, 5 of us, approved a behavioral health work group that I believe all of us hold in high esteem. I've heard the commissioner himself speak very highly of the work group and the work product that they produced. That resolution delegated the appointment of those individuals to the chair. So if that is your contention, that this would be invalid because those members were not appointed by each commissioner, then I believe you would also be calling into question the work and the validity of our behavioral health work group that I believe did some very good work. So, going back to what I started with, this is now the 4th time that we have considered this. We had 10 highly qualified applicants for this position through this process that we all debated and approved ultimately. And I believe later tonight, this afternoon, we will have the opportunity to hear from 3 extremely qualified, good candidates that were the result of this process. Whether you support it or not, the process has worked. And we have some excellent candidates, and we have to move forward. Julie Morgus-Baca, our current county manager, is retiring. That's a fact at the end of this month. And this board has an obligation to move forward. We cannot continue to relitigate the past and wish that we had different members on this commission or different turn of votes. That's just not the way that it is. And so this is the way it is. We have to move forward. We have a process. The process has worked. I think we all agree with that. We voted unanimously on the candidates before us. And it's time to move forward, move the county forward, and move out of this divisive, messy situation that has been created by all of the members of this board, not just the chair, not just the 3 of us, as has been stated. It has been all of us that participated in this rolling quorum, including Commissioner Quesada and Commissioner Benson, as evidenced by emails submitted to the NMDOJ. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
I guess I would also like to add that our county attorney, Ken Martinez, mentioned that we have been in communication with the DOJ, and as I said in my statement, that this is a cure that will move us forward based on their review of all of the information that we have provided to them. So I am hoping that we can indeed do that. As Commissioner Oliva said, we did have a unanimous vote on the top 3 candidates, and it moves us to where we are today. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to work together in that vein in a positive direction.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barboa, then Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for your leadership again. You did not have to engage the commission. You did not have to make the names public. You did not even have to ask anyone. You could have, in your duties as chair, just decided who was going to be on that search and vetting. And for someone who definitely wanted local people on that, which was not in any other proposal that was put before us. I'm just really thankful for your leadership and for going through all this. I hope that this painful process since then doesn't deter you from being inclusive in further measures, because I really appreciate your leadership to try to include us, and I hope it doesn't, this mess of it all doesn't deter you from continuing to be inclusive when you didn't have to, it wasn't required of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was not mentioned in the DOJ's opinion, by the way. They mentioned the opinion of 3 commissioners, not 5 commissioners. And again, I talked about the communication that I had was not about, and I talked to the DOJ, I did not talk about this process. All you asked me is if I would defer my resolution, never asked to be put any input in any of this decision-making, and that's why we're here, because it's not inclusive and it's not transparent, and that's why we're here. The DOJ opinions point out that not only did members of this commission break the law, but their actions violated the goodwill of the citizens of the county. You should have read that from what the DOJ put forward. At the end of the day, you say I had a choice at voting for this because we had got to appoint 2 extra committee members. The reason why I voted against it, and just so you know, Commissioner Olivas also voted against it, is that the fact that I don't believe this is a legal motion, that I don't think that this resolution is legal. And so I voted against it because, in my opinion, if you don't include all 5 commissioners when you are doing county-wide work, that is against our code and it's against our ethics. And I will stand true to that no matter what you say, because that is the facts of how a good commission, which I've been a part of a good commission for many years, functioned. That is no longer the case of this commission, as the public already knows. So I just wanted to make sure that we clarify that somebody doesn't speak for me, but that I speak for myself and that I represent my district through the voters who had elected me to speak for them. And that is what a good leader does.
Thank you, sir. I have a correction there, and I will also defer to the county attorney, but nowhere in the DOJ investigation or communication does it name specific members of this commission. It says the majority, which means the majority of the 5. And so I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Martinez, and follow to say the language, yes, just a moment. The language that I have proposed in the motion comes from the curative recommendation from the Department of Justice. And so they see that there is a cure, there is a remedy. That is what we are talking about today, and that is what's before us for a vote. Mr. Martinez, do you have anything to add about that?
Madam Chair.
Oh, I had a question for the attorney first, and then Commissioner Benson. I will hear your comment.
Thank you, I defer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize, Commissioner Benson. The question presented was a rolling quorum, and it started with basically a warning against caucus-like activity, which means members chatting about issues before that could come before the board. Some of that can be administrative, and some of it could be a little bit more. In an abundance of caution, we have responded to all the document requests, and to the text message request. And the summary given is a summary of both of those, and also includes the summaries that were given by the Department of Justice, both at its first letter to us and in its final findings. And then to make sure we covered all those issues correctly, we're making all those part of the minutes, and we've given those to all commissioners. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and for transparency, that all of those communications will be part of the minutes of this meeting, so the public will see them as well. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to comment that when you and I did speak, Madam Chair, I expressed to you my frustration that I had first heard about this hiring committee through Tim Cummins, who reached out because he's a man of integrity. And he said, hey, I'm not sure if you're even aware of this, but I was asked to, there is a hiring committee, and I've been asked to be put on it, and I've accepted. I just want you to know. And I thanked him over and over for that communication. And I communicated to you that that's the communication that we should have as a board, and that every commissioner should have a vote. And I asked for appointment, the ability to appoint to that board, and that was rejected. And Commissioner Olivas, I have a question for you, because you do point out that Commissioner Quesada and I voted against adding members, although my amendment was to add 2 members personally, because obviously 5 members being picked by 3 commissioners did not equate to 1 person per commissioner. So I asked for 2. I didn't get that, so I voted no. You, Commissioner Olivas, also voted no, that you did not want Commissioner Quesada and I to have appointments. So thank you for pointing out that we voted for it, but you must remember that you also voted against it. And so, Commissioner Olivas, I'd like to ask you, what was your process in this illegal rolling quorum that was held? What was your process for picking the search committee members? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Olivas, Vice Chair Olivas, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I voted against that resolution because it was unnecessary. I think the chair was very graceful to allow that. Had I been the sponsor of that resolution, I would not have considered those friendly amendments, and I would have opposed them, as I did consistently that evening, and I opposed the underlying bill at that point because I thought the original search committee was excellent. The names that were put forward, the qualifications of the individuals, it was ironclad. Adding additional members was not necessary or required. That's why I opposed it. Again, all of the members, so far as I can tell, participated in this rolling quorum in some way, shape, or form. Commissioner Quesada and Commissioner Benson are unwilling to admit, but actually, the statements that they are making indicate that they fundamentally misunderstand the role of a commissioner and what a rolling quorum is. The statements that all of the commissioners should have been included, the statement from Commissioner Benson that he wishes he had been told by his colleagues about Mr. Cummins being contacted, is exactly, excuse me, Commissioner, I have the floor. So
as you were, sir.
The reason, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here with the interruptions.
You were informed, Commissioner Olivas.
Commissioner Benson, please, he has the floor.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I have it.
I defer.
So the question of why we didn't contact him, why he wasn't contacted, is exactly the point. Calling a third commissioner and telling them that this is what's going on, how do you feel about it, what do you think? That's exactly the point. That is a rolling quorum. As is the email that Commissioner Benson sent to all 5 of us indicating his opposition to this resolution, as is the email that Commissioner Quesada sent to all 5 of us stating his opposition to this and his steadfast that he would vote against this. So the 2 of them actually took votes via email, in my opinion. So
I would
that's
have
an
been
issue
informed,
too.
Commissioner,
Voting
not the
via
third.
email outside of a closed meeting, stating your policy position on a very specific issue, that's an issue too. Clearly, there have been errors made across the board. Madam Chair has shown tremendous leadership here and grace in this, and I believe we need to, again, we need to move forward. We have a workforce here of over 2,500 employees that we owe this to show leadership, to show that we are moving forward. Again, we have excellent candidates before us. And during this process, we have commissioners laughing and walking out of meetings. That's how seriously they take the leadership of Bernalillo County. It's a joke to them. So
Madam Chair,
that's my case.
Just a moment, Commissioner Benson. I just have to say, I will ask everyone to have decorum and professionalism with our colleagues, and please do not interrupt. Thank you so much. Commissioner Benson.
thank you. Madam Chair, when Commissioner Olivas tells people that they're not as smart as he is because they don't understand everything that he does, that tends to offend people. So maybe you can have a conversation with him afterwards. When Commissioner Quesada and I first called out what appeared to be illegal behavior from the three members of this board, we were met with insults and ridicule in the public meeting, much like Commissioner Olivas just gave. Commissioner Olivas actually compared our calling foul to these actions, comparing them to the Trump protesters of January 6th when they broke into the Capitol. Commissioner Barboa then said it was an attack by GOP MAGA against a female Latina leader. They both knew we were in the right. They both knew it. They knew we were correct. But they wanted to attack us politically for standing up for the law. Those insults being put aside, though, I'm not asking for an apology for myself and the lack of decorum that Commissioner Olivas has or Barboa. But Commissioner Olivas has also insulted the professional opinion of Mr. Gutierrez, our ethics officer, when he called out these actions. And Commissioner Olivas said that he wasn't as smart as Commissioner Olivas was either. Next, the entire county staff is owed an apology for this dishonest approach to this hiring committee. And finally, the public. Back to, I will agree that Commissioner Olivas is correct that the public is owed an apology. We have an office to hold, and denying that this was a rolling quorum and saying that Commissioner Quesada and I are actually the ones guilty of the rolling quorum, when that is in direct violation of what the Department of Justice found, is a joke. And we owe the public an apology. They expect us to be honest and operate with integrity. And that is not what is happening here.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson, and I will restate, I'm not sure if you heard my opening statement, but I take this job very seriously as chair. I feel with great devotion to the county and great integrity. And I did make an apology to our community, to our staff, to the working group that assisted us in vetting these applicants, and to the applicants, so that we can move forward. What is before us today is truly a cure. That is a very important word here that the Department of Justice uses. It's a remedy. It is a cure to a mistake that happened. And so I would like us to move forward now and cure this problem. And I will close discussion, and I want to open it up to anybody who has signed up for public comment. Julianne, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 2 signups.
Thank you. First, I will make a statement. Each person has 2 minutes. You will be alerted about your remaining time. When your name is called, please make your way to the podium if you are speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record. To maintain order and decorum, and in the spirit of professionalism and respect for everyone present, Speakers must adhere to the 2-minute time limit. Thank you very much. Please call our names.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Starting off with Mr. Rudolph Serrano, followed by Robert Beatty.
Madam Chair, members of the council, but it's sad to feel the chambers without Julie Morgan's back already. So she was the heart of this room, and now we're looking for somebody to replace the irreplaceable. So it's going to be a hard time. And regarding what I don't know if is there both Republicans and Democrats in the 3 selections, or if they're all Democrats or all Republicans. That's something that I will kind of wonder in the decisions if it was taken to say, okay, it's something that we can just move on. But Julie Baca was a Democrat, and this county is Democrat, so I guess I have to live with it. But it's just gonna be a hard decision. And the other thing is, I know one of the candidates belongs here, which is great. But are we ready for some change, or is the people coming from an ambience of too much lobbying or too much politics? I guess Bernalillo County has its own personality, and I have to vote to hope for somebody local to kind of keep the politics the way it is, especially in these times where changes are really hard and are coming, and we just have to stick and hold on tight because it's election years, and everything is going to be shaking. The politics is going to be shaking, and hopefully it doesn't get worse. But that's what I got. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Robert Beatty.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I'm Robert Beatty, a longtime South Valley resident, and the county manager's position is a really, really important position. I've learned that a lot, and I appreciate County Manager Baca and the great work that she's done for the county. I really encourage the commission to really look at somebody who knows New Mexico, knows Bernalillo County. Bringing in somebody from the outside is going to take some real work for them to get on board. I get the search committees looking at those qualifications. I just really encourage somebody that's local and knows Bernalillo County in New Mexico. And I want to express my concerns about the Behavioral Health Initiative Ordinance. We've just hired a deputy county, or you've just hired a deputy county manager. And I'd really like to see what that county manager would do with the BHI the way it's set up now. I think that person deserves an opportunity to demonstrate what he can do. I'm not opposed to the ordinance. I was not part of the working group. I've been involved in the BHI since before it was the BHI. I knocked on doors to get it to pass. I'm still involved, and I would like to stay involved. And the current ordinance doesn't have any involvement from me whatsoever. And so I come and get 2 minutes of public comment. I came and was recognized, right? I stood up here. I got a little thing to put on my refrigerator. I don't consider that to be recognition. I know who I am. I'm Robert Beatty. I live and work in the South Valley. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes public comment.
That concludes public comment, and I'd like to call the question. Madam Clerk, we need a roll call vote.
Yes, Madam Chair. Commissioner Benson.
No.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Quesada.
No.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Yes. And that passes. I hope that we can move together in unity. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.